Picture this. A single river that has witnessed the rise and fall of pharaohs, the birth of human civilization, and the creation of monuments that still leave us speechless today. The Nile River, stretching over 4,000 miles from the heart of Africa to the Mediterranean Sea, is not just the world's longest river, it's humanity's greatest storyteller. But here's what will blow your mind. Along this ancient waterway lie some of the most incredible places on Earth. Places so magnificent that they've survived wars, floods, and thousands of years of history. Today we're taking you on an epic journey to discover the most amazing places along the Nile, from its mysterious source in the mountains of Africa to the legendary pyramids that guard its delta. Get ready to witness temples carved into solid rock, waterfalls that have inspired legends for millennia, and archaeological sites so perfectly preserved that you'll feel like you've stepped back in time. This isn't just a travel documentary. This is your passport to one of the most extraordinary adventures our planet has to offer. If you're ready to explore the lifeline of ancient Egypt and the modern nations that depend on it today, then let's begin this incredible journey together. For over 2,000 years, finding the source of the Nile was one of humanity's greatest mysteries. Ancient Greek historians called it impossible. Roman emperors sent expeditions that never returned. It wasn't until 1858 that British explorer John Hanning Speke finally solved the puzzle that had captivated civilizations for millennia. The answer lay in the heart of East Africa, at Lake Victoria, the world's second largest freshwater lake. Imagine standing on the shores of this massive body of water, stretching beyond the horizon like an inland sea. This lake, shared by Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, covers an area larger than Ireland and holds enough water to supply the entire Nile for decades. But the real magic happens in Jinja, Uganda, where the White Nile begins its epic 4,000-mile journey to the Mediterranean. Here, you can literally stand at the point where the lake transforms into the river that would shape human history. The water bubbles up from underground springs, creating a natural fountain that locals have considered sacred for generations. What makes this place truly special isn't just its geographical significance, it's the incredible biodiversity that surrounds it. Lake Victoria is home to over 500 species of fish found nowhere else on Earth. The surrounding wetlands provide sanctuary for thousands of bird species, including the magnificent African fish eagle, whose cry echoes across the water at sunset. Standing here, watching the gentle current begin its northward journey, you're witnessing the birth of a legend. Every drop of water flowing past your feet will travel through 8 countries, past ancient temples and modern cities, carrying life to over 400 million people. This is where the story of the most amazing places along the Nile begins, in the tranquil beauty of Africa's greatest lake. But this peaceful beginning is about to become something far more dramatic, because 1,000 miles downstream, where the mountains of Ethiopia meet the sky, the Nile transforms into one of Africa's most thunderous spectacles. Deep in the Ethiopian highlands, where the air is thin and the landscape feels like another planet, lies one of Africa's most spectacular natural wonders. The Blue Nile Falls, known locally as Tiz Isat, which means water that smokes, is a thundering cascade that has inspired legends and poetry for over 1,000 years. Picture this: millions of gallons of water plunging 150 feet into a rocky gorge, creating a mist so thick it can be seen from miles away. During the rainy season, the falls stretch nearly 1,300 feet across, making it one of the widest waterfalls in Africa. The sound is absolutely deafening, a constant roar that drowns out all conversation and makes you feel incredibly small in the face of nature's raw power. But here's what makes this place truly magical. When the morning sun hits the mist just right, it creates rainbows that seem to dance in the spray. Local legend says these rainbows are the bridge between heaven and earth, and standing there surrounded by this natural light show, You can almost believe it. The Blue Nile carries something the White Nile doesn't: the rich, fertile soil that made ancient Egypt possible. Every year these waters would flood the Nile Valley, depositing millions of tons of nutrient-rich sediment that turned the desert into a garden. The ancient Egyptians called this the gift of the Nile, and it all begins here in the misty highlands of Ethiopia. Today, you can hike to viewpoints that offer breathtaking perspectives of the falls, or take a boat ride to feel the spray on your face. But nothing compares to standing at the edge of the gorge, watching this natural wonder that has remained virtually unchanged since the dawn of human civilization. And speaking of unchanged wonders, our next stop will challenge everything you think you know about ancient Egyptian temples, because we're heading to the only temple in all of Egypt that breaks every rule the pharaohs ever made. Sailing down the Nile between Aswan and Luxor, you'll encounter something absolutely unique in all of ancient Egypt. Perched on a bend in the river, perfectly positioned to catch both sunrise and sunset, stands Kom Ombo Temple, the only temple in Egypt dedicated to two gods simultaneously. What makes this temple extraordinary isn't just its unusual design, but its incredible setting, built on a hill overlooking the Nile. Kom Ombo offers some of the most stunning river views in all of Egypt. When the golden hour light hits the sandstone columns, the entire temple glows like it's been set on fire. It's no wonder this has become one of the most photographed spots along the entire Nile. The temple's unique double design tells a fascinating story. One half is dedicated to Sobek, the crocodile god, while the other honors Horus, the falcon god. Everything is perfectly symmetrical: two entrances, two halls, two sanctuaries. The ancient architects created a building that's both harmonious and mysterious, reflecting the Egyptian belief in balance and duality. But here's where it gets really interesting. The temple includes what might be the world's first medical textbook, carved directly into stone. The walls display ancient surgical instruments with incredible precision, including scalpels, forceps, and even bone saws. These 2,000-year-old carvings show medical knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered in Europe for another 1,000 years. The crocodile connection isn't just symbolic. Kom Ombo was built where the Nile bends, creating perfect conditions for Nile crocodiles to bask in the sun. The temple even had a crocodile cemetery, where hundreds of mummified crocodiles were buried with the same care given to pharaohs. You can still see some of these incredible mummies in the temple museum today. What truly makes Kom Ombo one of the most amazing places along the Nile is how it combines natural beauty with incredible history. Standing in the temple courtyard at sunset, watching the Nile flow past the same columns that ancient priests walked between, you're experiencing a connection to the past that few places on Earth can offer. But if Kom Ombo impressed you with its unique design, wait until you see what's waiting just 40 miles downstream, because we're about to enter a temple so perfectly preserved that walking through its doors is like stepping into a time machine set for 2,000 years ago. If you want to experience ancient Egypt exactly as it was 2,000 years ago, there's only one place that can transport you completely back in time: the Temple of Horus at Edfu. This isn't just another ruined temple with missing walls and faded carvings. This is the most complete, best preserved temple in all of Egypt, and walking through its gates is like stepping into a time machine. The temple's preservation is almost miraculous. For over 1,000 years, it was completely buried under sand and debris, protecting it from weather, vandalism, and the passage of time. When French archaeologist Auguste Mariette uncovered it in the 1860s, he found a temple so perfectly intact that the colors on the walls were still vibrant, the hieroglyphs still sharp and clear. Standing in the massive entrance hall, you're surrounded by columns that tower 60 feet above your head, each one carved with intricate details that would take master craftsmen years to complete. The ceiling is covered with astronomical charts and religious scenes that still retain their original blue and gold paint. It's like walking inside a perfectly preserved ancient book, with every wall telling part of an epic story. The temple tells the legendary battle between Horus, the falcon god, and his uncle Set, the god of chaos. The story unfolds across the temple walls in incredible detail, like an ancient graphic novel carved in stone. You can follow Horus as he avenges his father's murder, battles mythical creatures, and ultimately triumphs over evil. It's storytelling on an epic scale that Hollywood would envy. What makes Edfu truly special among the most amazing places along the Nile is how interactive it feels. You can still see the original door hinges, touch the same stone surfaces that ancient worshippers touched, and stand in the exact spots where pharaohs once performed sacred rituals. The temple even has graffiti left by Napoleon's soldiers in 1799, connecting you to more recent history as well. The setting is equally impressive. Edfu sits on the Nile's west bank, surrounded by green fields that flood every year just as they did in ancient times. From the temple's roof, you get panoramic views of the river and the desert beyond, the same view that inspired ancient architects to build this masterpiece in the first place. But as incredible as Edfu is, nothing could have prepared ancient travelers for what they would encounter 100 miles further south, because we're about to witness what happens when a pharaoh's ego meets unlimited resources and the world's most skilled craftsmen. Deep in southern Egypt, just 40 miles from the Sudanese border, stands what might be the most jaw-dropping monument ever created by human hands. Abu Simbel isn't just a temple, it's a 3,200-year-old masterpiece of engineering, artistry, and pure pharaonic ego that still leaves visitors speechless today. Imagine approaching this remote site in the early morning, when the first rays of sunlight hit the massive facade. 4 colossal statues of Ramesses II, each 65 feet tall, emerge from the rock face like ancient gods awakening from sleep. These aren't just big statues, they're perfectly proportioned giants that make you feel like you've discovered a lost civilization of supernatural beings. But here's what makes Abu Simbel truly extraordinary. The entire temple was carved directly out of a solid cliff face. Ancient engineers tunneled 200 feet into the rock, creating chambers and halls that extend deep into the mountain. The precision is mind-blowing. The temple is positioned so that twice a year, on Ramesses II's birthday and coronation day, the rising sun penetrates the entire length of the temple to illuminate statues in the innermost sanctuary. The story behind Abu Simbel is as dramatic as the monument itself. Ramesses II built this temple not just as a religious site, but as a political statement. Located at Egypt's southern border, it was designed to intimidate anyone approaching from Nubia. The message was clear. Egypt's power extended to the ends of the earth, and Ramesses II was a god among men. What makes this one of the most amazing places along the Nile isn't just its ancient glory, but one of the greatest rescue missions in archaeological history. When Egypt built the Aswan High Dam in the 1960s, Abu Simbel was doomed to disappear forever under the rising waters of Lake Nasser. In an unprecedented international effort, the entire temple was cut into 2,000 blocks, each weighing up to 30 tons, and reassembled on higher ground. The engineering feat was incredible. They had to recreate not just the temple's appearance, but its astronomical alignment. The twice-yearly solar phenomenon still occurs exactly as it did 3,200 years ago, now illuminating statues that were moved 200 feet higher than their original location. Standing inside Abu Simbel today, surrounded by walls covered in battle scenes and religious imagery, you're experiencing something unique in human history. This is where ancient engineering meets modern engineering, where Ramesses II's ego meets UNESCO's dedication to preserving human heritage. It's a place where the impossible became possible, not once, but twice. But Abu Simbel's story of rescue and preservation isn't unique along the Nile, because just 170 miles north, another temple faced the same watery fate, and what happened there created one of archaeology's most romantic and dramatic rescue stories. At the first cataract of the Nile, where granite rocks create natural rapids that have challenged sailors for millennia, lies one of Egypt's most romantic and mysterious sites. Aswan has always been special, the gateway between Egypt and Africa, where ancient traders brought gold, ivory, and exotic animals from the heart of the continent. But within this historic city lies a story of love, loss, and one of archaeology's most dramatic rescue missions. Philae Temple, dedicated to the goddess Isis, was once called the Pearl of Egypt. Built on a small island in the Nile, it was only accessible by boat, which added to its mystique and romance. Ancient visitors described approaching the temple as a magical experience, with its beautiful columns and pylons reflected in the dark waters of the Nile, creating a mirror image that made the temple appear to float between heaven and earth. The temple tells the story of Isis and Osiris, ancient Egypt's greatest love story. According to legend, when Osiris was murdered and dismembered by his jealous brother Set, Isis searched the entire world to collect his scattered pieces. She used her magical powers to resurrect him, and their love transcended death itself. The temple walls are covered with scenes from this epic tale, carved with such emotion and artistry that you can almost feel the ancient love story coming to life. But Philae faced the same threat as Abu Simbel. The construction of the Aswan High Dam meant that this island temple would spend most of each year underwater, slowly dissolving in the rising waters of Lake Nasser. What followed was one of the most complex archaeological rescue operations ever attempted. Engineers faced an almost impossible challenge. Unlike Abu Simbel, which was carved from solid rock, Philae was built from individual stone blocks, many of them weighing several tons. The entire temple had to be disassembled block by block, with each piece numbered and catalogued. Then a nearby island was reshaped to match the original topography, and the temple was rebuilt exactly as it had stood for 2,000 years. The result is magical. Today, approaching Philae by boat feels just as mystical as it did in ancient times. The temple sits on its new island home, surrounded by the same granite rocks and dark waters that inspired ancient poets. The sound and light show they perform here at night transforms the temple into something from a fairy tale, with the ancient stones glowing in brilliant colors, while the story of Isis and Osiris unfolds in multiple languages. What makes Philae one of the most amazing places along the Nile is how it represents the best of human nature. Ancient Egyptians built it as a monument to eternal love. Modern engineers saved it as a gift to future generations. Standing here, watching the Nile flow past the same columns where ancient pilgrims once prayed, you're part of a continuous story that spans thousands of years. But if you think the romance and drama of Philae is impressive, prepare yourself for what's coming next. Because we're about to enter a city that contains more ancient wonders than the rest of the world combined, a place so incredible that Napoleon himself called it impossible to describe. Welcome to Luxor, ancient Thebes, the city that Napoleon called the world's greatest open-air museum. This isn't just hyperbole. Nowhere else on Earth can you find such a concentration of perfectly preserved monuments from one of history's greatest civilizations. Luxor contains more than a third of all the world's ancient monuments, and every single one tells a story that will leave you amazed. Let's start with the most famous, the Valley of the Kings, where 62 pharaohs chose to spend eternity. This isn't just a collection of tombs. It's an underground art gallery that stretches deep into the desert mountains. The tomb of Tutankhamun, discovered intact by Howard Carter in 1922, revealed treasures so incredible that they're still touring the world a century later. But here's what most people don't know. Tutankhamun's tomb is actually one of the smallest and least impressive in the valley. The tomb of Ramesses VI takes your breath away with its astronomical ceiling, covered in detailed star charts and religious texts that guided the pharaoh's journey through the afterlife. The walls are covered in scenes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, painted with colors so vivid they look like they were completed yesterday. Walking through these corridors, you're literally walking through ancient Egyptian beliefs about death, rebirth, and the eternal journey of the soul. But Luxor's crown jewel is the Karnak Temple complex, the largest religious building ever constructed by humans. This isn't just one temple. It's a city-sized complex that took over 2,000 years to build, with contributions from dozens of pharaohs. The Great Hypostyle Hall alone contains 134 massive columns, each one tall enough to fit a 15-story building inside. Standing among these stone giants, you feel like you've discovered the ruins of a civilization of titans. The most incredible part of Karnak is how it demonstrates the evolution of ancient Egyptian art and architecture over 2 millennia. You can literally see how building techniques, artistic styles, and religious beliefs changed over time. It's like having a time-lapse movie of ancient Egyptian civilization carved in stone. Luxor Temple, connected to Karnak by a 2-mile avenue lined with Sphinx statues, showcases a different kind of amazing. Built primarily by Amenhotep III and Ramesses II, it was designed to be beautiful rather than massive. The proportions are perfect, the carvings elegant, and the setting absolutely magical. When the ancient Egyptians held their most important religious festival, the Opet Festival, millions of people would line this avenue to watch the sacred barges carry the gods from Karnak to Luxor. What makes Luxor truly special among the most amazing places along the Nile is how it brings ancient Egypt to life. This isn't just about admiring old buildings, it's about understanding how advanced this civilization was. The temples demonstrate sophisticated knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering that wouldn't be matched for centuries. The art shows a society that valued beauty, spirituality, and the eternal journey of the human soul. Standing on the roof of Luxor Temple at sunset, watching the golden light play across the Nile, while the call to prayer echoes from modern mosques built among ancient ruins, you experience something profound. This is where past and present coexist, where the most amazing achievements of ancient humans still inspire us today. But our journey along the most amazing places along the Nile isn't over yet, because ahead of us lies the ultimate destination. A place where monuments older than any we've seen rise from the desert to guard the river's final approach to the sea. We're about to witness the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. Our journey along the most amazing places along the Nile reaches its crescendo in Cairo, where the ancient and modern worlds collide in the most spectacular way imaginable. This sprawling metropolis of 20 million people is built around monuments that have stood for over 4,500 years, creating a cityscape unlike anywhere else on Earth. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. It represents the pinnacle of human achievement in the ancient era. For over 3,800 years, it was the tallest building on Earth. Even today, we're still discovering how the ancient Egyptians achieved such architectural perfection. The pyramid is aligned to true north, with an accuracy of just 3/60ths of a degree. The mathematical precision is so exact that modern engineers still study it to understand construction techniques we've forgotten. But here's what makes the pyramids truly mind-blowing. They weren't built by slaves, as Hollywood would have you believe. Recent archaeological discoveries have revealed that the pyramids were built by skilled workers who were well-fed, well-housed, and proud of their work. They even left graffiti on the stones, calling themselves teams with names like Friends of Khufu and Drunkards of Menkaure. These workers were building monuments they knew would last forever, and their pride shows in every perfectly fitted stone block. The Great Sphinx adds another layer of mystery to this incredible complex. Carved from a single piece of limestone, this massive creature has the body of a lion and the face of a pharaoh. For centuries, it was buried up to its neck in sand, creating legends about a mysterious head emerging from the desert. The Sphinx faces east, greeting the rising sun each morning, just as it has for over 4,500 years. What makes the Giza complex one of the most amazing places along the Nile is how it interacts with modern Cairo. From the Pyramid Plateau, you can see the bustling city stretching to the horizon, a metropolitan area larger than many countries. The contrast is surreal. Ancient monuments that were old when Julius Caesar visited them, surrounded by a modern city that represents the continuation of Egyptian civilization. The nearby Egyptian Museum in Cairo houses the world's largest collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts, including the complete treasures from Tutankhamun's tomb. Walking through its galleries is like taking a masterclass in ancient Egyptian civilization, with mummies, golden jewelry, and everyday objects that bring the past to life in incredible detail. But perhaps the most amazing thing about modern Cairo is how the Nile still flows through its heart, just as it has for millennia. The river that gave birth to ancient Egyptian civilization continues to sustain modern Egypt. Standing on the banks of the Nile in downtown Cairo, watching feluccas sail past modern skyscrapers, you're witnessing the continuation of a story that began over 5,000 years ago. This is where our journey through the most amazing places along the Nile comes full circle. From the quiet shores of Lake Victoria to the bustling streets of Cairo, the Nile connects every incredible sight we've explored. It's more than just a river. It's the thread that weaves together one of humanity's greatest stories. What an incredible journey we've taken together, from the misty highlands of Ethiopia where the Blue Nile thunders over ancient cliffs, to the perfectly preserved temples that line the river's banks, to the eternal pyramids that guard its delta. We've witnessed some of the most amazing places our planet has to offer. But here's what makes the Nile truly special. It's not just a collection of incredible sights. It's a living, flowing timeline of human civilization. Every place we've explored is connected by this single river that has carried life, dreams, and stories for over 5,000 years. The water flowing past the temples of Luxor is the same water that begins its journey in the mountains of Uganda. The river that reflected the glory of pharaohs still sustains over 400 million people today. The most amazing places along the Nile teach us something profound about human nature. Whether it's the ancient engineers who carved Abu Simbel into solid rock, the modern archaeologists who saved Philae from the rising waters, or the countless generations who have found inspiration along these banks, the Nile brings out the best in human creativity and determination. These places remind us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. The same sun that illuminates Ramesses II's statues twice a year has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth of religions, and the endless human quest to create something beautiful and lasting. As our journey ends, the Nile continues its eternal flow toward the Mediterranean, carrying with it the stories of everyone who has ever stood on its banks in wonder, and that includes you. Because by experiencing these incredible places through our journey today, you've become part of the Nile's ongoing story. If this epic journey through the most amazing places along the Nile has inspired you to explore more incredible destinations, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more adventures that will expand your horizons and feed your wanderlust. Keep exploring, keep wondering, and remember that the most amazing places on Earth are always waiting for those curious enough to seek them out.